सभी को मेरी तरफ से जय माता दी। मैं हूँ श्रद्धांजलि। मैं आपको स्वागत करती हूँ मेरी यूट्यूब चैनल पर। मेरी पहली वीडियो में आप सबके लिए मैं लेकर आई थी मेरी एक हैंड रिटन नोट गुलिवर ट्रैवल्स के ऊपर। वो एक शॉर्ट समरी था, बट मैंने ये मेरी यूट्यूब चैनल पर इस वीडियो में मैं आप सभी के लिए मैं इसकी एनालिसिस को लेकर आई हूँ। मेरी हैंड रिटन नोट ये मैं आपके साथ शेयर करने वाली हूँ। अगर आपको मेरी वीडियो अच्छी लगी, यूज़फुल लगी, तो आप मेरी वीडियो को सब्सक्राइब कर देना, से ज़्यादा शेयर कर देना, लाइक कर देना। सभी को मेरी तरफ से जय माता दी। थैंक यू सो मच अगेन। ये वीडियो मैं आपके लिए लेकर आई हूँ क्योंकि इसमें मैं हर एक चैप्टर को एनालिसिस करके लिखी ही, इसीलिए मैं आपके साथ इसको शेयर करने वाली हूँ। धन्यवाद। जय माता दी। अगर मेरी वीडियो आपको सही लगी तो आप इसको पॉज करके लिखना और पढ़ना। थैंक यू सो मच ऑल ऑफ यू। अगर मेरी हैंड राइटिंग अच्छी नहीं लगी तो प्लीज़ मुझे माफ़ कर देना। पार्ट 1 चैप्टर 1 पार्ट 1 Chapter 1 Summary. The story begins with Lemuel Gulliver, who introduces himself and gives a brief account of his early life. He comes from a modest family and studies medicine. Later, he decides to travel by sea because it offers better job opportunities for a surgeon. Gulliver joins a ship called the Antelope. During the voyage, the ship faces a violent storm. The ship is destroyed and Gulliver, along with a few others, tries to escape on a small boat, but soon the boat overturns and Gulliver is thrown into the sea. He swims for many hours until he reaches an unknown shore. Exhausted, he falls asleep on the ground. When he wakes up, he finds that he cannot move. His arms, legs, and even his hair are tied down with tiny ropes. Soon he discovers that the people trying him are very small, only 6 inches tall. These tiny people are called Lilliputians. At first they are afraid of him, but slowly they become curious. They bring him food and drink and finally decide to take him to their capital city. This is how Gulliver's strange adventure in the land of Lilliput begins. Chapter 2. After Gulliver is captured, the Lilliputians decide to take him to their capital city since he is too large to walk freely. They build a special wooden machine with wheels to carry him. Hundreds of tiny men and horses pull him to the city. Gulliver's in the temple. They keep Gulliver inside an old empty temple which becomes his temporary home. His left leg is chained so that he cannot escape, but he still has enough space to move around. Feeding Gulliver. The Lilliputians are amazed by Gulliver's size. It takes hundreds of tiny baskets of food and many barrels of drink to satisfy his hunger. Feeding him becomes a big job for the kingdom. Gulliver's good behavior. Gulliver behaves gently and does not harm anyone. Seeing this, the emperor starts trusting him. The emperor himself comes to visit Gulliver. He is dressed richly and appears wise and curious. The Lilliputians perform several military parades in front of him to show their strength. Gulliver tries to make friends by showing respect and following their rules. Learning their language. Gulliver begins to learn the Lilliputian language. Some officials are assigned to teach him. Slowly he starts understanding and communicating with them. Rumors and concerns. While many people admire Gulliver, some are frightened. A few government ministers whisper that Gulliver may become a danger to their country because of his huge size, but the emperor believes. Chapter 3. In this chapter, Gulliver becomes more familiar with the Lilliputian kingdom. He gains the trust of the emperor, who is impressed by Gulliver's good manners and gentle behavior. Gulliver's good behavior helps him because Gulliver never harms the Lilliputians and follow their rules. The emperor allows him more freedom. Gulliver is still tied with chains, but the chains is long enough for him to walk in a small area near the temple. Lilliputians entertain Gulliver. To show their strength and discipline, the Lilliputians perform special activities. One of the most important is the rope dancing competition. Rope dancing, a strange court custom. In Lilliput, government officials prove their skill by dancing and jumping on a thin, tight rope. Skill by dancing and jumping on a thin tightrope. Those who jump the highest are rewarded. This strange test is used to select people for important jobs. Gulliver finds this tradition unusual and funny, but it shows the foolishness of the Lilliputians' court. Gulliver helps the Lilliputians. The emperor also orders Gulliver to help the kingdom in two ways. First, he surveys the land. Gulliver walks around the countryside to study its layout. Second, he protects their ships from danger. The emperor hints that Gulliver might soon be needed for a war against their enemies, the Blefuscu people. A favor to the emperor. The emperor asks Gulliver for a special favor. The Lilliputian children like to crawl under Gulliver's legs for fun, and the emperor wants to watch this. Gulliver agrees politely even though it is uncomfortable. Chapter 4. In this chapter, Gulliver continues to live peacefully in Lilliput and gains more trust and respect from the emperor and his ministers. Gulliver learns the Lilliputian culture. Gulliver studies the history, laws, and customs of the Lilliputians. He learns about their strange habits, their political system, and their unusual beliefs. Two main political groups. Gulliver discovers that the Lilliputians are divided into two political parties. First, High Hills, High Churchmen. Second, Low Hills, Low Churchmen. The parties constantly fight for power. The emperor prefers the Low Hills, so they dominate the government. This shows Swift's satire on British politics. Conflict over egg breaking. He also learns about a long running conflict between Lilliput and Blefuscu. The reason is surprisingly silly. First, Lilliputians believe eggs must be broken from the small end. Second, people of Blefuscu break eggs from the big end. The disagreement has caused wars, rebellions, and many deaths. Swift uses this to show how foolish political and religious conflicts can be. Gulliver promises help. The emperor tells Gulliver that Lilliput is preparing for a major war against Blefuscu. The emperor wants Gulliver's help because of his enormous size and strength. Gulliver politely agrees to assist the emperor and help protect Lilliput. Gulliver's compassion. Although he agrees to help, Gulliver secretly feels sad that such small and silly reasons cause so much violence. His gentle nature is shown clearly here. Chapter 5. This chapter describes Gulliver's heroic service to Lilliput and how the emperor tries to use his power for personal gain. First, Gulliver helps Lilliput win the war. Lilliput is preparing for war against Blefuscu, their neighboring island. The emperor wants Gulliver to help them win completely. Gulliver plans a clever strategy. He goes into the sea between two countries. He carries hundreds of strong ropes. He attaches the ropes to the entire fleet of Blefuscu's navy. Then he pulls all their ships to Lilliput using his incredible strength. Because of this, Blefuscu loses its whole navy without any bloodshed. Gulliver becomes a hero. The emperor more power. Although Gulliver has already helped Lilliput win, the emperor wants him to do more. He asks Gulliver to do again to Blefuscu and capture all their people, making them slaves. Gulliver refuses politely. He says it would be cruel and unjust to enslave an entire nation. The emperor becomes angry because Gulliver does not obey him. A great fire in the palace. One night a fire breaks out in the empress' apartment of the palace. The Lilliputians are unable to control the fire because they are so small. Gulliver saves the palace in an unusual way. He urinates on the fire and puts it out. This act saves the empress' life and the whole palace. But the empress feels insulted and becomes his enemy even though he saved her. Enemies start plotting against Gulliver. Even though Gulliver does great service, so ministers are jealous of him. The empress hates him. The emperor is unhappy because Gulliver disobeyed one command. These enemies secretly begin planning to punish him. Chapter 6. This chapter gives a detailed picture of Lilliputian society, their laws, customs, education, and everyday life. It helps readers understand how their tiny world works. Lilliputian laws and justice. Gulliver learns that the Lilliputians have strict laws. Dishonesty is punished more harshly than theft. They believe lying is worse than stealing. People who follow the law faithfully get rewards, not just punishment for crimes. This shows that the Lilliputians value truthfulness and morality. Education of children. Education is very important in Lilliput. All children are raised in public schools, not at home. Boys and girls study separately. Poor children receive free education and food from the government. Parents are allowed to visit but they cannot interfere. This reflects their focus on creating disciplined citizens. Belief in merit, not worth. The Lilliputians believe that a person's position should depend on skill and talent, not on their family or wealth. This is different from many societies Gulliver knows. Their way of raising babies. Parents must send their children to government-run schools after a certain age. This helps ensure that all children grows up with strong values. Gulliver's own living arrangements. Gulliver is treated fairly. The king orders that he must be given a fixed allowance of food and drink. He is also allowed a servant and some officials to help teach him the language. A strange aspect of their society. One of the funniest details is that Lilliputians choose some government officials through rope dancing competitions, leaping and jumping tests. This shows how John Swift uses humor and satire to make fun of real political system. In this chapter, Gulliver learns that his life is in danger because some Lilliputian ministers have turned against him. Gulliver makes a new friend, a high official named Reldresal, a principal secretary of private affairs, secretly visits Gulliver. He warns him that powerful people at court are planning to punish or kill him. Reldresal likes Gulliver and wants to help him. The enemies of Gulliver. Two ministers hate Gulliver the most. Skyres Bolgolam, the admiral, he never trusted Gulliver from the beginning. Flimnap, the treasure. Jealous and afraid Gulliver will become too powerful. The Empress also hates Gulliver because he put out the fire in the palace by urinating even though he saved her life. The charges against Gulliver. Reldresal explains that Gulliver is accused of serious crimes, not obeying the Emperor completely, refusing to enslave Blefuscu, urinating on the palace, talking to the ambassadors of Blefuscu even though he was innocent. These are presented as treason. The proposed punishment. Some ministers want Gulliver to be killed. Others suggest a less violent plan. Blind Gulliver reduces his food slowly until he becomes weak and dies naturally. This shows how cruel and illogical the Lilliputians can be. Gulliver feels shocked. Gulliver is shocked and saddened because he always helped the Lilliputians. He saved their kingdom. He never did anything wrong. He realizes he must escape soon to save his life. Gulliver decides to escape. Gulliver realizes his enemies are powerful. The emperor may approve the cruel punishment. Staying in Lilliput is dangerous, so he decides that he must escape to Blefuscu, where he hopes to find safety. Chapter 8. This is the final chapter of Gulliver's stay in Lilliput. Gulliver escapes to Blefuscu, knowing that the Lilliputians plan to blind him and starve him. Gulliver secretly travels to Blefuscu.